Once we have created a pair of sections to select both the height and weight of a person, let's create a section that will allow us to know the result of the body mass index calculation. To do this, we're going to go back to the XAML code, and under the region called weight, we're going to create a new region. This region will be called, for example, result. Inside the region, we will add a frame control and inside a vertical stack layout, as we have also done in the height and weight regions. Inside, let's add a label control with a font size equal to title, its horizontal options equal to center, and a text equal to result, and let's place some random result, like for example, normal. Now we need a radial gauge, so let's access the namespace, and inside let's use SF radial gauge. Let's close the label, and as part of the control we must specify some properties. For example, we have to specify a set of axes through the property called axis, which will contain an element type radial axis. We specify some properties such as a maximum value equal to 50 and a minimum value equal to 0. We indicate that we do not want to display axis lines, nor do we want to display labels, and finally, we also indicate that we do not want to display ticks in the graphical interface. Let's close the label. Let's start the execution of the application so you can see how the control looks initially. Okay, we already have here the application, but we see the section of the control blank, since we have to specify how the radial gauge space is going to be filled. How can we do this? Well, inside that section called radial axis, we're going to indicate that we want to use a property called ranges. And inside the ranges section, I'm going to paste a few pieces of code, so you don't have to watch me write them from scratch. I'm going to restart the application so that you can see the change that we have done. And now we can see the first part that is being drawn in the control. What we are specifying with this set of properties are an initial value, a final value, which are the values that are going to indicate how much the chart is going to be filled and from what value. In this example, the final value will be equal to 16. Remember that the maximum value is 50, and these values that we are placing will serve to show a result according to the body mass index table. Subsequently, we are indicating that will be the color for the radial range that we are creating. We are also setting a start width and an end width, which allow us to create this circular contour. If we modify the value, for example, to a value of 1 and save the changes, watch as the outline of the figure is completely modified. So we have to use this value 55. And after the first radial range that we have created, we can create more radial range type sections. So I'm going to paste more of these sections, and we can already see how the chart is being filled with the radial range controls, which have a minimum value and a maximum value according to the VMI calculation table. Subsequently, we're going to create an additional radial range, which will allow us to create this element in the center that we are seeing here to give a better visual appearance to the control. Finally, we will also create a pointer that will allow us to display the result of the calculation performed. Then, for it, I'm going to proceed to add as part of this control, after this property called ranges, this property called radial axis.pointer, that is going to allow us to create a pointer type needle. We specify a name, we specify some properties to draw the pointer that we see on the screen, to which we can assign a different value, for example 50. This will allow us to move the pointer according to the result obtained. Finally, to show the graph in a not so separate way, since it is very separated from the label control, we're going to assign to the SF radial gauge control the margin property with the values 0, minus 55, 0, minus 55. In this way, we have already better positioned the control on the screen. The next step is to create the view model and start binding the properties to add interactivity.